Now we're looking at 5.2, more with exponents. So we're looking at raising a power to a power. So having one base and two exponents. In this case, when you have one base and two exponents, you're multiplying your exponents. So x to the 2 times 3, which is x to the 6th. So one base, two exponents, you multiply. That's when you're raising a power to a power. Let's do a couple of examples. So here we have 5 to the 4th raised to the 3rd. You multiply your exponents. 4 times 3 is 12. Looking at 2 to the 2nd power raised to the 5th power. One base, two exponents, we multiply. 2 times 5 is 10. Now what happens when we have more than one number or letter inside the parentheses? If it's inside the parentheses, then it needs to go to everything inside the parentheses. Remember, when there is no exponent, that there's a 1 here that we just don't write. And so this is going to go here to the 3 and here to the y. So we're looking at 3 to the 1 times 2 power and y to the 1 times 2 power. So we're looking at 3 to the 2nd power, or 3 squared, and y to the 2nd power, or y squared. And you can also write it as 3 squared would be 9y to the 2nd. Okay. Looking here again, remember that when there is no exponent, there is one. We just don't see it. It's the 1. And it's being distributed amongst all the parts inside. So 2 to the 1 times 3, a to the 3 times 3. And I want you to write this step out. It seems kind of dumb, but what I see is over and over again, students are missing this 2, and they distribute it to the a, but they don't think about the 2. So in this case, we're looking at 2 to the 3rd power. A to the 3 times 3 is 9. You can leave it like that, or you can say 2 to the 3rd power. 2 times 2 times 2 would be 8. A to the 9th. It looks a little neater and cleaner that way. All right, so now if we're looking at a problem like this, we're looking at the fact, again, remember that that 3 is raised to the 1 power. So again, we're distributing that 5 to the 1, to the 4, to the 7, and to the 6. So 3 to the 1 times 5 power, x to the 4 times 5 power, y to the 7 times 5 power, and z to the 6 times 5. And again, I want to see this step on your work so that, again, you're thinking through those steps. So 3 to the 5th power, 4 times 5 gives me, whoops, didn't mean that, 20. 7 times 5 gives me 35. And 6 times 5 gives me 30. So that is my final answer, even though it's a little big. All right, so now we did raising a power to a power. Now we're going to do raising a quotient to a power. So let me move this out of the way. All right. Now, very similar. I'm still going to be distributing that 2 to everything. So this 2 goes here and this 2 goes here. And it's still multiplying. So even though this, again, there's no exponent that we see, it's there. So it's x to the 2nd power times 2 over 4 to the 1st power times 2. And so what we get is x to the 4th on top, and down at the bottom 4 to the 2nd, or 4 squared on the bottom. And remember that it might look a little neater. You can even write it like this. 4 squared is 16. Again, distributing that 3 to the top and the bottom. So y to the 3 times 3 power and x to the 2, times 3 power. And 3 times 3 is 9. 2 times 3 is 6. And once again, I want to see this step in your work, even if it seems dumb to you. I see way too many people missing problems because they just accidentally didn't quite do the steps. So remember, there's that one exponent, even though we don't see it, distributing that 3 to the 4, to the 2, to the 5, and to the 3. This is a negative 4, and what you should be doing is making it 1 times 3 inside the parentheses, m to the 2 times 3, n to the 5 times 3, and then 3 to the 1 times 3. The reason I have you write that in parentheses is because although our brain doesn't always think that way, technically the negative and the 4 are two different numbers. This is negative 1 times positive 4. So if we put it inside parentheses, it means negative 4 to the third power. If you're doing negative 4 times negative 4 times negative 4, the final answer is going to be negative. So here in a moment, when we rewrite this, I can get rid of the parentheses because a negative times a negative times a negative is a negative. So that works out. 4 to the third power, m to the 6th power, n to the 15th, all over 3 to the third power. And if you wanted to, you could go ahead and do the multiplication, or you can just leave it like this, and that would be your answer.